raises some serious questions. What is Israel trying to hide? And if they haven't already crossed a red line, what more do they need to do for this government to take some action? The alleged execution of the 15 humanitarian aid workers was bad enough. What is this government going to do? Actions do speak louder than words.
Madam Deputy Speaker, this government has taken action. We have taken action since the day we formed the government, and I would be happy to rehearse whether it's the arms suspensions, the restoration of funding to UNRWA, or the numerous other actions that we have taken, but conscious of time, I think I'll save that for another day.
Sammy Wilson.
I think we've seen a good example of faux outrage in this House today, as the members have condemned the Israeli government. But would the Minister accept that, first of all, the Israeli government has every right to decide who it gives entry to its country and who it refuses entry? And would he remind some of his colleagues that it wasn't so long ago they were campaigning to get the President of the United Kingdom US excluded from this country?
I'm not sure how many more times I need to say the position about Israel's right to control who enters its border, but I'm happy to reiterate it one more time, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've debated for many years with members of the Conservative Party. I've often disagreed with them, but I've never before been ashamed of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask the Minister whether, considering that Israel is now, or has for a long time now, not been allowing journalists into Palestine and the West Bank, and now seems determined not to allow parliamentarians to go to that country in order to build links and to see for themselves what's going on, whether it is the point where we really do need to consider what action we take going forward, and whether that should be about talking to Israel or whether it needs to be something slightly stronger.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. We, as I said in answer to a previous question, we have taken action since we were the government. We will continue to talk to the Israeli government. They are, as many members have said, a partner, they are an ally, and we are surprised, distressed, and oppose the treatment of our MPs this weekend.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. For 15 years, I've found it impossible to say anything on the subject of Israel and Palestine without it being completely unsatisfactory to either side on this debate. But I do have to say, having got to know the member for Early and Woodley pretty well on the Treasury Select Committee, I was profoundly concerned by the decision of the Israeli government to do what they did, though I respect the right that they have to do so. But it is so counterproductive, because it's only when we fully express our views on all sides of this debate can we find some edification.
That's a decent and honourable contribution, and I thank the honourable member for it.
Creasy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Colleagues who are elected after 2024 may not know that in 2022, 287 of us parliamentarians were banned from entering Russia over our views about the Ukrainian crisis, including not just myself and the member for the New Forest, but indeed the member for North West Essex, the leader of the opposition. At that time, the House stood as one, standing up to that intimidation. Today, from the opposition, we get a dog whistle so loud about our colleagues who did nothing wrong apart from wanting to go and see for themselves what was going on. It could be heard on the moon. What a disgrace. Will the Minister agree with me that this government will always defend free speech? And defending free speech means defending the ability of people to go and talk about things they may not want to talk about.
As I've said, Madam Deputy Speaker, these parliamentary delegations are very valuable, and I want to see them continue.
Vicky Slade.
Madam Deputy Speaker, many of us have raised serious concerns about the actions of the Israeli government, and replies have rarely gone as far as most of us would want. I'm deeply concerned this may be a tactic now being used by the State of Israel to curtail ministers from condemning Israel more strongly. What assurance can we have from the Minister that he will not be cowed by what's happened to his colleagues?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I will not be cowed by what has happened to my colleagues.
Andy Slaughter, the real one this time.
Thank you very much. I visited the occupied Palestinian territories a number of times, including Gaza in years gone by. One of the purposes is to bear witness to what's happening on the ground. That's particularly important when aid workers, when medics now, when journalists and with civilians are being killed in great numbers. So while appreciating the Minister's support for our colleagues, what is the government going to do to ensure that in future members of this House can visit with impunity?
Madam Deputy Speaker, it is the right of the Israeli government to decide who visits. They can exercise that right as they see fit. I'm sure they will hear from right across the whole House the desire of this House to continue to visit, which continues to provide a valuable function. Israel and Britain have a long relationship, both Parliament to Parliament, society to society, people to people, and I want to see that continue.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank the Minister for his statement, and I would like to put on record mine and my colleagues' solidarity with our friends and honourable members of Sheffield Central and Earley and Woodley. Yeah. What are the UK government's precise red lines that, when crossed by Israel, will trigger a full arms embargo and comprehensive economic sanctions against Israel? And furthermore, when will the government publicly articulate and enforce these red lines to ensure accountability and uphold international law?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I've talked about the importance of international humanitarian law, as has the Foreign Secretary and many other ministers of this government at this dispatch box in some length. Conscious of time, I'll refer him to my answers last Wednesday.
Dr. Zubair Ahmed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank my honourable friend, the Minister, for all the help that he gave to my colleagues, honourable members, for Earley and Woodley and for Sheffield Central over the weekend. The British Jewish organisation Yashad has suggested that this occurrence of detention is symptomatic of an attempt to silence criticism within Israel and outside. Is my honourable friend sympathetic to this view? And if he is a business-as-usual diplomatic relationship with this current Israeli government still possible?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend, who is so committed to these issues, has been discussing them with me and others for many years, is right to highlight the important work of Yashad, who have also provided delegations to Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, and I refer him to my previous response on the statement.
Will Foster.
Speaker, I was on one of those delegations that the Minister has just spoken to, and unlike my honourable friends across the chamber, we were able to visit the area without a problem from the Israeli government, but we did have an incident with Israeli settlers. Is the Minister concerned, and what is he going to do about what is supposed to be a democratic country sliding to an undermining the rule of law and stopping British politicians from seeing what is happening in the occupied territories?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I know that my neighbour, the Father of the House, has also been on such a delegation and also, like the Honourable Member, reported an incident with settlers. I refer the House to my previous statements about the expansion of settler violence and illegal settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories.
Powell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The power of bearing witness that my honourable friends were attempting to do was shown at its most extreme in recent days by the paramedic Refa Adwan, who filmed the recent attack on 15 aid workers by the IDF before losing his own life. Does the Minister agree with me that in this case there must be accountability and not a cover-up?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I do believe that wherever there are incidents against humanitarian workers, including the one my honourable friend mentions, there must be full accountability.
Look at Adam.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I also welcome the Minister's statement? Sometimes this discussion is very polarised, and I would like to just say that it's not just an affront to this House and every member in this House. It's not just an affront on the government. It's an affront on the British public that put us here. And in that, vein, thousands of British citizens travelled to Israel to make their way to the third holy site, Masjid al-Aqsa. Hundreds have been refused entry on arrival.